Hello, this is J.N.S, and today we are continuing with the Revolutionary series, which highlights leaders from all walks of life who are no longer here with us, who no longer wanted to be degraded by injustice, so they took a stance in some form of effort towards justice. And they serve as an inspiration to us because they gave their life, or they left blueprints, or they were inspiring. So I wanted to do this series because I wanted to shift as a culture who we uplift in the community, who we get inspired by, beyond just rappers and celebrities or people who we deem to be to have like excess wealth or stuff like that. I wanted us to break away from shallowness and start to really dig into the depths of a person's soul, as well as their works, their actual fruits of labor. So that is why we're doing this series, because I really want Black Americans to start to understand what it's like to stand for something, especially when they see injustice. And we've always done that, but within the last 20 years, I would say even longer, possibly that 30-40 year mark, in particular when the crack epidemic kind of blew out the spirit, so to speak, in terms of a certain type of spirit that we were seeing with, say, the crooks of the Black freedom struggle movement, or like the Black Panthers or the civil rights. I just don't see that energy. I don't see that energy anymore. It comes and goes in waves. You'll see certain individuals stick out like a sore thumb, and then they usually get hammered back down. And that's what I've been seeing for the last 7 years. I've noticed that when people kind of do take a stand, they kind of on an island on their own, and they're looked at as crazy. They're too pro-Black. They are upsetting the status quo. They're going to get us all killed. All these type of things that people say when somebody is just standing up for a clear injustice that we can empirically prove through quantitative methods, through quantitative data. So to me, if someone sees that and they question it, or they take some sort of effort to alleviate such degradation of our people, and by that I'm talking about melanated people, that could be in the context of melanated people globally, or that could just mean for Black Americans itself. But to me, I want to shed light on people who stand up. That's what I personally want to do, because the youth need to understand the spirit and the positionality of these individuals. And maybe it'll inspire you, maybe it won't, but at least you'll learn something, and you'll have some information on your hands too. You learn some cool, interesting things about people, and if that's all it does, then that's all it does. I'm not telling anybody to go out here and do anything that's contrary to your higher purpose, what your calling is in life. I'm certainly not saying that. I just want you to walk away being inspired. So the second revolutionary that we are going to focus on is Darren Seals. And Darren Seals was a great guy. He was born May 15th, 1987. And he was an American activist from Ferguson, Missouri, who worked on the assembly line at General Motors. So he obviously grew up in Missouri, a few blocks from the apartment complex where Michael Brown was shot by police officer Darren Wilson. Now, we all remember the tragic situation with Michael Brown. And Darren had actually knew that family, the Brown family, since his childhood. So Darren Seals became more known in that sense, but from what I understand, he was doing activist work before that took place. Now, he was known as King D. Seals on social media. He referred to himself as a businessman, a revolutionary, an activist, and unapologetically Black, as well as fighter and leader. So he also was kind of considered a rapper. He was in a St. Louis group called DOA, and he made this song called Born Targets, where he criticized the police response to the Ferguson demonstrations. Darren Seals also co-founded Hands Up United, which was another tentacle of his activism, and the Washington Post described him as among St. Louis's most prominent anti-police brutality activists. So in 2013, he was actually shot, but thankfully he survived. And he was an outspoken critic of Black Lives Matter, the organization that is known for scamming. Not necessarily the tweet Black Lives Matter or the hashtag rather, but the organization itself. He criticized that, and he often would use Twitter as his platform to call out how that organization stole 90 million. They were raising millions of dollars in donations and giving nothing back to the Ferguson people, or Black Americans at that, who are the victims of police brutality. And there were many protests in Ferguson against the police killings of Mike Brown. And what happened was Darren Seals realized that, people were going to Ferguson and hijacking the movement for their own political gain or for their own notoriety. So he called it out. And the Black Lives Matter activists at that time, they were pretty much controlled opposition, a lot of them. They had very weird intentions. They were odd, to say the least. I remember they would go out there twerking at the protests. They would do weird things. So Darren Seals called out how people were making a spectacle of that Black Lives Matter situation, and he did even go so far as to name certain people. In particular, there was a man named D.Ray McKesson and a girl named Netta, who he did hashtag specifically and said that they were motivated by personal, political, and financial benefit. Now, whether that's true or not, I personally don't know, but this is what his thoughts was on the situation. And he had been criticizing the co-opting of the Ferguson activism since 2014. And he wrote about the exploitation of Black pain for profit, conducted not only by white media, but out-of-town Black elites who seized on Ferguson as a stepping stone to their own glory. So that was definitely something that needed to be called out. And in one occurrence in early 2015, Darren Seals actually slapped D.Ray McKesson, one of the activists who was kind of suspicious in a lot of people's eyes at the time. So that goes to show you how he really felt about these people that were coming out there clout chasing, being disingenuous about the movement and all of that. And when that had happened, a lot of and you got to think about it this way, that there were a lot of real people on the grounds that was doing boots on the grounds work in Ferguson, and those activists, they were losing their jobs, they were going to jail. So there was real suffering going on, and about 12 to 17 activists in Ferguson are actually dead now. Some of them got killed, shot, mysteriously missing, mysteriously found in rivers, mysteriously hanging from trees. We all know what really happened to these people, but these were people that were targeted and taken out. So it was about 12 to 17 people. The last time I counted, it was 12. Somebody told me it was 17 Ferguson activists who had actually died. I remember that guy in that famous Molotov picture that he had with the Molotov cocktail, and that guy is dead. The one with the dreadlocks that threw that, he's dead. So a lot of people die. So when people like D.Ray McKesson wanted to co-opt that movement and get on Time magazine covers and get on all this media and do that thing, that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths who were really grassroots and who were not controlled opposition. So in 2015, Darren Seals wrote a post that said Black death is a business. He said, millions and millions flowing through the hands of these organizations in the name of Mike Brown, yet we don't see any of it coming to our community or being used to help our youth. I've been calling out this shit for months. People see this as an opportunity, not only to build the name, but make bank at the expense of lives of people like me. So that's what he spoke out, and that was his opinion. That was his words verbatim. So unfortunately, Darren Seals was killed on September 6, 2016 in Riverview, which is a northern suburb of St. Louis. And it was ruled a homicide because he was shot before he was placed in the car, and then the car was later set on fire. And one of the last things Seals tweeted before he was murdered was a link to a video interview that he did, where he talked about, once again, about Black Lives Matter being fraudulent, and about the Ferguson hijacking. It was also rumored that they castrated his penis, in addition to being shot and set on fire. So that was obviously an assassination, if you ask me. And that was very unfortunate. This was a beautiful man, and I really wanted, to shed light on Darren Seals, because he is a rare gem. So many men are comfortable being conquered, and answering to other men. But Darren Seals, he took a stand. And to me, it's about the fire in the eyes. So when I look at Darren Seals, I see a lot of fire in him. Like, if you look into the eyes, it tells everything, and it speaks to his fire and his spirit, just by looking at the eyes. So I used to always like to look at his eyes, and to be honest, I feel like the infrastructure knew, probably through gematria, probably through just someone's energy marker. Sometimes your chi can kind of speak very loudly, and what can happen is people want to snuff that out. They won't even let you get to your full potential these days. They can say you went crazy to try to discredit you, using literally wave beams on your mind, and you not knowing it. There could be situations like that where you can come under psychic attack through sonar weapons and wave weapons, and they can have you, go crazy, or it kind of like an MK Ultra thing where you're discredited that way, but still alive. So a lot of times that is the option where they're going now. They're not even taking people out, but certain people, they do get taken out if their energy marker is a little bit too much to handle. I guess that the powers that be feel like you don't want to let that person reach their full potential, or else they'll have certain ramifications of the structure, certain ramifications to the infrastructure that could diminish their power. So that's what I believe happened to Darren Seals. I believe that he was taken out, and that for reasons, because we didn't see. And the reason why I say that is because we don't see, like a situation where he may have done, say, what Malcolm X accomplished or something like that. But that was eventually where it would have went. So a lot of times people will snuff your light out early. That's what also happened with Fred Hampton. The chi, the prana within someone's life force can be measured, sometimes just through your natal chart, your gematria, your essence, and that people can pick up on that, and people can pick up on that. Organizations can pick up on that, and if you're not one to be sold out, if you're not a sellout, if you're not one that can be bought, in terms of neutralization or becoming controlled opposition, they don't have anything over your head to do that with, then you can potentially, you're going to face discredit. You're going to face being discredited, having character assassination. Sometimes they'll use mind weapons on you. So any techniques such as gang stalking, targeted individual stuff, sonar waves, beams on the brain to make you go crazy, to make you look crazy when you're talking. If you say certain things, you'll look crazy or look like you're psychotic or something like that. And then the other option is death, or forcing you into compromising positions. So that's what happens. And Darren Seals didn't cower to injustice. So Darren Seals, these are the type of men that should be promoted in the community, not, ignorance, not degeneracy, not this gang banging stuff and rappers and things that are fleeting, things that don't propel real power for this community, where men are complicit in their own subjugation. That's not something that you really want to promote in terms of that complicity that you see with the men. And I don't know, as a woman, it just bothers me. And it bothers a lot of women. They just don't say much about it. But if you see that your man has to go to another man's infrastructure for their sustenance, and that they have no true autonomy, that can get frustrating. So when you see, obviously there's a level of brainwashing within our community, there's a level of complete debasement in terms of Black American culture being identified with the lowest class among us. That is a problem, and that is what I personally speak out against. And I want our culture to be known like it was back in the days where we was self-sufficient, where we would build for ourselves, do for ourselves, look out for one another, make amazing music, make amazing inventions, get married, put family first. Those are the type of things I like to promote about Black American culture, our food, our music, in terms of like our jazz and blues and neo soul and whatnot, and even a lot of the old school love songs and things like that. That's how I see Black American culture, is at the pinnacle of success of a group of people who will defend themselves, who love themselves, and who activate their consciousness on a high level. So that's what I like to promote about the Black American, and that's what I just carry myself and with that essence as well. I'm very proud to be from this lineage, but it's not even a but, it's just that I see within the last 30 to 40 years that a lot of representation of what is the Black American culture or what is glamorized in the community is things that should be debased in terms of even what other cultures promote. And it's not about copying other cultures, it's just about what gets power, what puts you in power positions, what puts you in positions of weakness. And to see, like when I see people promoting Boosie Badass and promoting gang violence and like these songs with promoting Percocet use and drug use, and like that's very low vibrational, and I feel like that should not be promoted in our community. Violence should not be promoted in our community unless you was defending yourself against terrorists or something like. But all of this, this promotion of money over the soul and selling out over the soul and not sticking up for yourself and not calling out injustice is not a good look. So, I want to encourage fearlessness. I'm not telling nobody to go out there and just, go out in a blaze of glory, but taking steps towards self-autonomy, self-agency, and self-determination is what I've always advocate for. And also advocacy in changing the system itself in whatever ways people do that, and that actually garners change. I understand that too, but I want to see people not be so complicit in their subjugation, and that is why I'm promoting Darren Seals. That is why I promoted Thomas and Kara. That's why you're going to see me promote other key figures like Francis Quest Brelsing, other individuals who wanted to elevate consciousness in a sense of autonomy, get you thinking about the structure of why it even exists, that gets you questioning like the unfairness of how things are set up. Even if you as an individual can do whatever you want to do in life and you're okay, you're fine, you're not affected by anything, you don't feel oppressed, you don't feel that there's racism, you don't feel like there's any white supremacy, yeah, the numbers tell the different story collectively, and there are a lot of black people who are brainwashed, and they just completely are afraid. So a lot of times they'll be in denial of what's the disparities of wealth, the disparities of healthcare, education, the disparities of pretty much any disparity that exists, that is quantifiable, that can even be seen anecdotally with just the eyes. If you go into certain neighborhoods and you really, if you're a researcher, you can see that. Even without having to set up, any sort of methodology or experiment or anything, you can just see that, and it hurts. And it hurts when you see it. It hurts when you feel it. A lot of us have been in situations where we have went into institutions, or we worked for institutions, or got ingratiated into different cultures where we had to code switch and whatnot, and we've seen it, and we've experienced it as well. So it is not a good feeling. So I advocate for self-autonomy in terms of your group economics, in terms of building your own even ethnic enclaves that are tantamount to a Chinatown or to a little Korea. Black Americans are more than capable of doing that as well. And that is how you're going to take back some element of autonomy. And particularly men, you should be thinking about that, really, because you're a man. You don't want to have to go and work for another man's infrastructure that's empowering them, getting your food from them, getting your water from them, getting your clothes from those who feed you controls you, is what Thomas Sankara said. So men, you really need to start thinking twice about following certain rhetoric. You listening to Kevin Samuels and following just nonsense, instead of really thinking about how you're going to get up out of your subjugated state. You're thinking about black women need to do this, black women need to do that, and all this other nonsense. And you need to be standing in your manhood and really, focused on getting out of subjugation and being conquered. So that's what I would like to see men focus on. And I don't have an issue with men. I don't hate men at all. But I know when I see a situation that's not looking too good, it makes me uncomfortable as a woman to see it, because I have a different keen perception of reality. I have a higher consciousness than most people. So Darren Seals, we honor you. You're one of the rare few. You were a gem. You are still a gem. And we know that you're no longer here with us, but we love your spirit, and we want more of our men's spirit to be like you. We thank you. And I wanted to focus this series on Darren Seals. He has beautiful eyes, and he kept it real. He spoke the truth. He said what he said, and he meant it. And unfortunately, with his sort of chi energy, his prana was so huge, people felt like they needed to assassinate him and take him out, and that is so unfortunate. So this is the Darren Seals video. I really wanted to get more on his life, but he got snuffed out so quickly, so he was more than just Ferguson activist. This was someone who had a lot of love in his heart for his people, which is very rare these days. So I wanted to cover that, and I thank you guys for listening. Next we are doing, I'll save it. I don't want to say it. I'll save it. It's going to be a baby girl, and we'll do her. And then we're going to do an elder. We'll do Frances Cress Welsing. We just want to keep people's memories alive. And again, the focus of shifting the culture from one that is shallow. There's an element of our culture that is being debased by the lowest among us, and we need to call it out. We really need to be separating from them. Absolutely, we need to be separating from the people who are completely going to sabotage any efforts towards our self-autonomy. And these people are mind-controlled agents who will absolutely sabotage Black Americans, and we need to get rid of them. We need to completely separate from them, not have any, it need to be a clean cut, because for what I'm seeing is the best of us is getting dragged down by people who that has no desire on elevating their consciousness whatsoever. And they have no problem dragging you down a hellhole with them, because misery loves company. So Black Americans that are not on that wavelength, that's trying to do something with themselves, putting their best foot forward every day, and excited about life, excited about this life and the next one, and want to build, with their families and leave a nice legacy for themselves. And even if you don't want to leave a legacy at all, you just here to put your best foot forward and live your life fulfilled with love every day. We need to be getting together, linking up, and building. We need to be looking out for one another in a true code of conduct in terms of how we treat each other, all that jealousy and all of that stuff. We don't want to be linking up with anybody who is a hater of intellectualism. We don't want to be linking up with anybody who is a hater of people who work hard, people who do the right thing, people who are not gang banging and doing stupid shit. We don't want to be around any of those people anymore as Black Americans. We are tired of these people making our culture look crazy when we are a beautiful people. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. It may not be politically correct to say it. It may lack tact, but I'm not about to advocate for niggas that will see me dead, or that will see the average Black American dead for some Jordans or for something stupid. And we always hear about these senseless crimes and stuff. We always hear about it, and nobody wants to say anything about it because we all like to just, our people. Black Americans have been brainwashed to identify with their lowest class, and that's a fact. Everybody, we talk about it a lot, but Black Americans have been brainwashed to identify with the lowest among them, and that is culturally, but that also happened where, okay, you cannot look down on other Black Americans. You can't look down on people, and really you shouldn't look down on people. But what if those people look down on you? What if those people always had a history of tearing you down for being yourself, for being smart, or for not wanting to do the wrong thing, for being square? What if you get shamed by the lower class? My thing is, look, I'm not about to let anybody just beat up on me. What if you get called bougie or white girl or white boy or boule or stupid shit like that, just because you was a Black American that's on the up and up, that values certain things that other people don't value. You value hard work. You value self-development. You value certain things that other people don't value. What happens in that case when you're shamed and you're demonized because you have intellect or something? No, we're not doing that. And we know what I'm talking about. It may be uncomfortable conversation, but we know good and damn well what I'm talking about. I know what I've seen. I'm from the hood. I've lived it. I've seen it my whole life. I may not be in the hood now, but I still know what I saw. I know what I saw growing up. I was ingratiated. I know how I was at sometimes, made to kind of feel bad for being myself. So don't let the lowest class among us try to shame us Black Americans for not wanting to be with the riffraff. No, we really want self-autonomy, self-determination. We want power too. We want a beautiful atmosphere and community too. Why not? And we have some, but we need more. We want complete self-sufficiency through being able to clothe ourselves, being able to procure water, being able to procure food, land. This is what we want. So hell yeah, we're gonna have to do some separating around here. You absolutely correct. You can't build with everybody. You can't. You're gonna waste your time. You can't save everybody. You can't change everybody. You can't do none of that shit. You cannot change nobody but yourself. You cannot save anybody but yourself. You don't have to convert nobody. You don't have to convince anybody. If anybody is out here lost in the sauce at this point in time in 2022 and they haven't figured out what the game is really all about, then you just gotta let them be. But there's if you find individuals that's just like you, y'all need to be linking up and building something. You need to be focused on a goal, some type of business, go into business with each other. See what you can barter for. I keep talking about that barter economy. I'll get more into it in some future video. But seriously, and that's why I said no. We gotta change who we value in this community. Like, it's ridiculous. We have to value our children more. We have to value women more. So to me, that's why I praise individuals like Darren Seals, like Thomas Sankara, because we want people to see what masculinity is. We want to show what it is. Not whining. It's not talking about the man did this and they ain't let us do this and they ain't gonna let us get this and you ain't letting me be the man. And no, that ain't manhood. We Darren Seals, he ain't never talk like that. I ain't never see him talking like that. Hell no. So Darren Seals, this was one that's for you. I know I went on a tangent in your video, but we're giving you praise and letting you know that your death didn't go in vain, man. Like, that shit hurt my heart when it first happened. It hurt my heart when it happened. And because I remember following him. His story and his work, when it all went down with Mike Brown's death. He was one of the few that really stood out to me. He really was just like, ooh, his eyes, the fire in his eyes. I'm like, oh, he's got some fire. He ain't nobody to fuck with. He got some fire. He got fire, and that always just rung out to me. But I also know that same fire that I saw in him was like kind of the same energy that you get from Ralph Bunchy, I believe he, and what's the other one, Fred Hampton. Them type, you have to be very careful if you got that kind of spirit, because they don't let you get to your potential. They see that and get freaked out and just take you out. So you have to be very careful, because you don't get a chance, say like somebody else who can be kind of controlled, or somebody else who was groomed in activism or groomed in movement work. A lot of these people, they weren't busted grape. They're not really revolutionaries. They're just people that get attention. They're just I'm not saying that about every activist, but a lot of stuff is just so controlled opposition. It is so obvious too. And certain levels of intelligence can reveal that to you, but it sometimes it's just better to just, like, you see it, but then it's like, just don't go near them, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's unfortunate, so sometimes you'll be a real lighthearted person, really ready to put in that work and ready to die, or ready to really, you'll be dead ass serious, and everybody around you is ops. Everybody around you be your whole agents, and you won't even know that shit. You really be thinking that, oh, we all, nah, you better wake the fuck up, man. Your ass better wake up. Everybody is not like you. Okay, so if you one of them real ones, if you listening, black men, you listening, black woman, you listening, whoever, if you're listening and you are one of those spirits that's a real one, and you find yourself surrounded by people of certain pedigrees that they don't have you can't really look them up, nothing on the internet about them, can't really verify nothing about them, but they say they activists and all this stuff, and they kind of tell you to do things that are counter-revolutionary. They kind of try to, do things that just goes along with the status quo, essentially. And it's nothing that is going to bring any change to the community or to individuals on any collective level. Then you may want to start, because sometimes it'd be so settled. Not everything is about a chaos agent acting a fool, causing a scene, a disruption, or sometimes it don't be them type of people. Sometimes it's very settled now. It's like they'll tell you can't say this, don't say that. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to upset these people and all this stuff. When people are frustrated, people are out here really not getting their fair shake, and so many people are. So if the Black American, if I'm talking to you, you can't relate to what I'm saying, I totally understand that. My background is sociology, so unfortunately my mind is expanded in a way that kind of sees a lot of stuff that the average human can honestly gloss over and not have to pay attention to. One of the things about that studying that stuff studying inequality. I literally just would just take classes on race, wealth, and inequality. That was literally the name of a class. So obviously we have to buy all the books to read all that. So this was years ago, when I was very young. But that shit just like, it never leaves your mind. You just realize like, damn, like shit is really unfair. Like, it's not like stuff is so structural too, in terms of stratification. So that can be frustrating once your eyes can't turn it off. So if you can't relate to nothing I'm saying, then that may be, your lot in life is to not be able to. And I wish you well, because once again, I'm not in the business of converting or convincing anybody of anything. But having that background in sociology, that kind of sucks. They were talking about like fields that go into drinking, that have heavy drinkers, heavy alcoholism. Believe it or not, obviously, police work was one of them, but sociologists, they have reputation for heavy drinking and kind of escape some of the stuff that it depends on what field you're in. But if you're dealing with anything related to inequality, race, then that's going to weigh heavy on you. That actually did not even go further outside of a bachelor's degree in sociology, because I'm like, look, I kind of need a break from all of this, a break from the particular field that I was. It wasn't the major of sociology itself, it was the things that I was studying within sociology that really opened my mind to certain things, and to see structural stuff that other people cannot see or not even care about. You're wired to not care about it, and where I am wired to care about it. So that's it for today. I talked a long time, and I will talk to you later. I will see you guys later. I love y'all. Please keep your head up at all time. Love yourself, and love who loves you. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.